Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to Gale FFTCG. I'm Serah, your host, and today we're doing the second part of my card theory video about deck building. You've requested this quite a bit, so I'm going to be doing a comprehensive breakdown looking at synergy and, yeah, just how to build a deck. In this video, I'm actually going to build a deck from scratch, so you can follow my process, and I'll talk through everything as we go. But without further ado, let's just fire into this. One of the best things that I can do, especially when I'm just looking to do something new and interesting, which I'm going to be trying to do for you, is we are in spoiler season, so I thought maybe it might be quite cool to look at some of the spoilers and see if maybe even just in theory crafting. Oh, nice. Okay, I think I know what I want to theory craft. Although I've never seen a couple of these cards. I think it's just nice to look at these things and theory craft them, especially because my competitive season and field will be effectively will be very effectively like maybe I think it's like a week or two after the set comes out. So I think it's really important that we push to learn as much as we can about the set before it comes out, and then make any kind of alterations. So this dancer looks really cool. I really like this, but I think today this has been something I've been bringing with quite a bit. I am going to be trying to build the Chocobo deck because this Bart's got spoiled, and I think this Bart's is really good. And I know that this Billy got spoiled, which is also very pretty good. And now we have Chloe as well, which is another Chocobo thing. So I think Chocobos is the direction I would like to try and take this deck. Usually that's how I start. I go, okay, what's a thing that I want to do with the deck? And I try and distill that down. Something like, okay, I want to try and build, for example, I'm using this example, I want to try and build a Chocobo deck. So what I usually do is I usually just go, okay, Chocobo. And I'll just type that in, and I'll get a pretty good idea of what is in Chocobos just from that. I think mono wind is where we want to be, just because most of these Chocobos are wind, so usually I decide very quickly on the components that I want as the basis for what's going on. So we want 3 Barts, because when Barts enters the field, we can add 2 Chocobos, job or card named Chocobos to our hands, so basically, this is a 1-cost 7k, which is really strong. Also, when a forward you control attacks, choose a forward opponent controls, deal 4k, so it's removal, dole an active job Chocobo or card name Chocobo until end of turn. Bart's gains haste and becomes a 9k. Just does a lot of really cool things, and it's a hero. I'm always a fan of heroes being really good, and because they're a little bit more budget friendly. So now that we know what our main card is going to be, we want cards that are going to benefit this. Obviously, this sounds very obvious, but I think sometimes it's easy to want to do fancy things rather than just good things, and there's a place for that. But I think this new Chocobo that got spoiled, there's a couple of Chocobo things that got spoiled that really make this deck tick. The last time this was really any good was way back in the days where it had like a crazy like rush strategy because of Stern Leonis and things like that, where everything costs 1 less and stuff like that. We don't have the benefit of that now, obviously, so I think it's worthwhile looking at the other ways that we can maybe work with this. This stray Chocobo is really good because when it becomes dull, we can activate it again, meaning that we can dull it for Bart's, give Bart's haste, make him 9k, and then have another little dude that's still there. And it also, when it becomes dull, it buffs things, so we can save our Barts. Bart's becoming a 10k is not nothing. That can save us from quite a few different things, to be honest. And I think that's kind of one of the things I'm always looking out for in terms of synergy is how does this card not only benefit the cards that I'm playing around it, but in what ways can it protect the cards? In what ways can it basically balance, can it do multiple things at one time? A 1-cost that can buff our guy and can be activated straight again as a blocker or anything like that. It just reads as above average when I'm looking at the synergies of what I'm trying to do. This is the other Chocobo that has synergy with Stray Chocobo. When it enters, you can dole a wind forward, and then Chocobo gains haste, and when Chocobo attacks, you reveal the top 3 and add a Chocobo to your hand, basically. This is very good, too. Most of the reason I'm building this is because I think this will be quite an easy deck to get a hold of, and I think this will be very, I think this will at least have some good merit in the new set. So we've also got this card, Billy, that gives our Chocobo forwards and card name Chocobo forwards plus 3,000, which is not bad. A 5-cost 5k is a bit expensive, but when Billy enters the field, you can search for a Chloe, a Chocobo of 3 or less, and play it onto the field. That's really strong. So this is where I start to think about the numbers here. If the rule of thumb I usually go by, because maths is hard and I can't be bothered doing the math sometimes, is if I want to see a card maybe 1 in every 5 games, I want to say, it's a 1 of. Or I have a really good way of searching it. If I want to see a card that is if I want to see a card, not in my opening hand, but at least somewhat consistently, I'm going to go for 2 copies. And if I really want to see it in my opening hand, or need to see it to complete my game plan, it's at a 3 of, 9 times out of 10. So I don't think Billy is a 3 of, because I think while he does a lot of what we want him to do, I think also there's enough Chocobo searchers and enough ways to get Chocobos that I don't think Billy is as crazy necessary. I could be wrong about that. Obviously, a lot of this is in theory rather than in practice. So the main reason we would run Billy is for Chloe, and Chloe activating when a Chocobo enters the field is very good. That means our Stray Chocobo can be a 1-cost, or it can be basically free. That is very powerful. But the big reason we would run this is that you can tap Chloe, choose a job Chocobo or card name Chocobo, and it gains this character cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities, which is very good right now. So the reason we will be running Chloe at 3, which is very interesting here. So Billy is good at certain points in the game. It's good in your opener. It's good in and around the mid game. But because this can get Chocobos and Chloe, Chloe isn't something we need to see right out of the gate, I don't think. At least in terms of, I don't really want to see Chloe in my opening hand. There's better things I can do in my opener. But I will break that rule because Chloe is kind of good at all points in the game. So I will add 3 of her, with the caveat that I already know that I have 2 Billies as well. So even if we don't draw her at any point, basically we can search her out. So I think 3 Chloe is correct here, regardless, because at any point if we draw her, it's great. Maybe I do want to go up. I think I've convinced myself to go to 3 Billy as well, because Billy also has the same logic that is very strong at just about any point in the game, because even if we have a Chloe down, we don't have to necessarily play her. We can play a Chocobo as well. To be honest, now that I think about it, and again, a lot of this is just kind of off the cuff, off the top of my head, where when you're building decks, don't be afraid to challenge your own assumptions about things. I'm always challenging the assumptions about a thing that I don't know. So maybe these are fine as 3 and 3, and I think if we can play test and we get these both too often, maybe we open Chloe in our hand and Billy in our hand, then maybe it's fine to drop Chloe to 2. Play around with these things. Do some test hands every time you build a deck and see how that works. Okay, so enough with that. We know that all of these cards synergize very well together, so sometimes it's a little bit easier. especially with like a deck like Chocobos, where Chocobos, it's very easy to see what we're doing. We know that Chocobos are supposed to go with other Chocobos. The archetype kind of builds itself. But not everything can be a Chocobo, obviously. And this is where we kind of come into our synergy in terms of what synergizes well and what is a necessary synergy. So, for example, I could just choose to run 30 Chocobos here, and I will probably come something close to that. But there are other things that are important, like Chocobo Sam is not a Chocobo in and of his own right, but he does search for Chocobos, any Chocobo. So I think it's worth us adding that, adding him into the deck because he can search Chocobo backups. That's a huge deal here, because obviously we want to try and hit our backups as cleanly as possible. We're only in Mono Wind, but because it cares about our Chocobos, I think we're going to try this. We're going to add the Fat Chocobo. This was a card that was very strong. When it enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards, add all card named Chocobo from among them into your hand. So we are going to, it's all cards named Chocobo. So it's notable that as my friends call it, the Nakibo, we can add Nakibo, and it's it's like we're able to draw that off of our Fat Chocobo. That's very good. That is a very good thing to be able to do. So we can add some Chocobo backups that maybe don't do a whole lot. This is the other thing about synergy. Sometimes you just run cards that don't do a lot. This is true of Knights. Knights doesn't run a lot of cards that do a whole heck of a lot. So I think it's actually very worthwhile to be building this deck in a way that as you're building it, sometimes the best thing that a card can have is a name such as Chocobo. So I think I don't want to see these all the time. So I think 2 copies of this Chocobo, 2 copies of this Chocobo are absolutely fine. If we wanted to narrow the field just a little bit more, we could go down and see if there's any other better Chocobos. There is not, which is fine. I think it's perfectly reasonable. We're on 13 backups. Maybe we can do a little bit better on the backups. You know what? I think I like this Chocobo enough to put it up, bringing us up to 14. I don't like this Chocobo all that much. I don't think our deck cares very much about forming a party at the moment, but I think this Chocobo it's fine. It's cuter. Sometimes you just need to justify it by saying, oh, it's cuter. So let's go ahead and look at the forwards here, because the Chocobo forwards are far and away the reason we run this deck. So I've added in 3 copies of this Chocobo. No bones about it. It just plays a card named Chocobo for your hand on the field. No restrictions. It's a little bit weak, but we don't particularly care. We just need Chocobos on the field. I've also added 2 Chocobo Knight. When it enters the field, you can search for a card named Chocobo, Jump Chocobo, add it to hand, and tap and play 1 Jump Chocobo or card named Chocobo if costs 4 less from your hand onto the field. Very good. Just very, very good. So now we get into the weird territory here, because we've got a really solid backup curve. We've got backups that search backups. We've got backups that draws cards. We've got backups that protect us. We have things that search backups that protect us. We don't need to worry about backups. We will have backups in abundance. Just because that is another kind of part of synergy and deck construction, is looking at what is my game plan. For Chocobos, I think our game plan is just to be as aggressive as we can. Because of Bart's, we're going to be dealing 4K to things. So there is already an element of every turn we're attacking and we're dealing damage and we're making combat math very hard. So I think the more that we can do that and pressure our opponent with our little dudes that are kind of expendable, the better. So with that in mind, I'm going to be looking at cards that allow us to attack super quickly. So I think these haste Chocobos are very good. They don't even read very good, but the fact that they have haste and deal 4k means that this is effectively trading up as like an 8k, which is really, really strong. So, and when it forms a party and attacks, it buffs all the 4s by plus 3k. Very good card, I think. I think also we're going to run this Chocobo. When it enters the field, choose a forward other than this Chocobo, and it gains haste. I think that's just really good. And because we can deploy these things for free, it makes things just a lot easier for us. This Chocobo I really actually quite like. When it's put from the field into the bin, you can search for a job Chocobo or card name Chocobo and add it to hand. I just think that's inherently very strong. And look at that guy. He's got such a sad eye. He's very sad. So I think, right, let's see. Our standard unit count is 22, meaning we're sitting at about, what? Sorry, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19, 20, 23 so far, just card name Chocobo alone, which is great. So I think we can probably put a few more down here. I think this Chocobo is good, because it's a 1-drop. Again, with Chloe, this is effectively gonna be free, and when it's put from the field in the break zone, you can search for one card named Chocobo, or one card named Chocobo character of cost 2 or less play on the field. That is good. That is a very good line of text to have. So I think it's fine to have that here. The one issue is that there aren't that many good Chocobos that are 2-cost, or at least characters-wise. We can get a backup off of it, which is pretty good. I'm going to maybe consider running this Chocobo. When it enters the field, choose one forward other than job Chocobo or card name Chocobo you control. No, I don't like this. This kind of text can be a bit of a trap. Because what it's telling me is, I want you to play things that aren't Chocobos. The whole point of our deck is to play Chocobos. So if this can't buff the majority of our deck, it's probably just not worth playing. So I'm going to take this one out. We'll look at this. Oh, no, not add it. We'll look at this other one. Choose one forward other than Chocobo. It gains plus 3k. When that forward leaves the field this turn, put Chocobo into the break zone. Nope, that's not good either. Not good enough by any metric. Yeah, honestly, I just don't think there's all that much that I like here. Yeah, you know what? I still think this is okay. Fat Chocobo. Let's look at what else is a Chocobo. And this time we'll specifically look for name Chocobo, because name Chocobo is very different than, because card name obviously matters here. I think we can add one more of this Chocobo. Also, I think name Chocobo, having an EX burst that reveals the top 3 is very good. This is now really upping our count here. So what have we got? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24... 27? Yeah, 27 now is over half our deck. That's the kind of thing that I do want to see. With Fat Chocobo, if we can go even on our numbers, that's great. That's more than enough, in my opinion. Some people will argue that you want a higher percentage, and I do agree, but I don't think it's worth watering down our deck just with bad cards. I don't think that that's the goal. I think if we can pay equal or more, or if we can get back equal or more than what we got with Fat Chocobo, I think we are in a perfectly good spot. So now we're at 49 cards in deck. The deck has not really built itself, but it is definitely this is a fairly fully formed idea. Now there's a little bit of cutting that we need to kind of do. Okay, let's take away Chocobos here. I think I think we need some summons, just because I don't trust that we want to have interaction. We'll be able to put a lot of dude spam out. We'll be able to play a lot of cards very quickly, but I don't think necessarily that we are out of the woods yet. And actually, I think it's correct here, because we have so many good ways of getting Chocobos, to add Fina. This is a thing Mickmel and I have been discussing, is seeing really what's worthwhile in a deck like this. So I think actually I do want to drop Chloe down, because Billy on turn 1 into Chloe is very strong, but Billy in the late game can be much better. So the quicker we can get out Chloe, the better. But playing Billy and having Billy at any point in the game is going to feel much better for us. So that is kind of how I would build a deck. We're going to add 3 Fina because we're basically drawing or searching or getting our Chocobos very quickly. I don't think that that's a big ask for us to hit 4 backups, just with how good this deck is at getting to that spot. We've also got this Chocobo to back that up. Again, sometimes there's something that I would call like soft synergy, where the card is just generically good enough that and helps our deck get to that specific spot that we want to be in, that I think that it's worthwhile just to keep those kind of cards in there. So this Chocobo can obviously be fetched to an extent by just having Fat Chocobo and hitting it off the top, and then adding any character, and the majority of this deck is characters, so we're pretty good there. We want to survive board wipes. So any sort of mono earth board wipes, Neo X deaths, etc. Fina just gives us a good out and a good way of surviving that. So I think that's absolutely fine there. Is this deck perfect? No, but this is where we can try and do a couple of test hands real quick here, just to round off this video. I actually really like this test hand because we've got the Chocobo Knight, which already is going to get us to a backup very quickly. And also, I think because we have this Chocobo, we maybe could do like a early aggression with the Stray Chocobo. You know what? I think I like the Stray Chocobo. Well, let's see what we draw first. Yeah, okay. So this is a little insight to me as a player. For me, when I'm playing an aggressive deck, especially one like this, oh, there we go. When I'm playing an aggressive deck, I want to make the best aggressive play that will also draw me cards. That sounds very obvious, kind of given, but the other thing I want to do pretty much always is to have a backup to my aggressive plan. So the best backup that I can think of is keeping this Chocobo Knight in hand on an early turn, and then we just go ahead and go straight into our more, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Crazy. Wild. Okay. There we go. So we take our Chocobo, but yeah, having a backup means that even if they get trigger happy and try and destroy something, you are able to basically you are able to play around that. So we're going to use our we're going to dull this. There we go. To give this haste, and then we'll attack And then by revealing the top three, we can get a chocobo, and that'll be great. Show us 3. Okay, wow, this is really great. So we'll take this chocobo, add it to our hand. So now we're up 2 cards. We've basically got exactly what we needed. Also, this chocobo should be active. And already we're off to a good start. So at this point, what I would do is I would actually... what I would actually do at this point is, because this is a great opener and this is exactly what we kind of want to see, I would restart, just because I want to make sure that we're getting that consistency every time. Usually I run about 5 test hands. Your mileage may vary. You could do probably a lot more than that, to be honest, and I think it's probably not a bad idea. But I like to just see how many test hands I can get, and I think 5 is a good indicator of how often or how little you brick. So okay, this is a pretty solid opening hand. I think because we have Chocobo Sam, we have no fear of just pitching a couple of cards and then going straight into our combo, or straight into Fat Chocobo on the next turn. I think I want to keep this down for now. I don't have any forwards, so I think pitching this Chocobo is perfectly reasonable. There is a world maybe where you want to not pitch the Chocobo and instead pitch the Chocobo backup, but I think keeping the Chocobo backup, especially if our goal is to be searching for a Fat Chocobo, we want to have 2 backups and something to play off those 2 backups, and so that can be really nice and helpful. Right. So it's a decent start, decent turn 1. Draw 2. Okay, this is great. This is kind of exactly what we want. So I think the best things that we can do right now is pitch this Chocobo. Whoa. Yeah, just drop it there. Just leave it. There we go. Okay, put this in the break. And I think, yeah, I think pitching this Chocobo is fine for... Oh, wait, hold on. There's a better line of play here. No, this is a card named Chocobo. So yeah, no, we don't do that. So we will pitch this into the break zone, because we can keep that for next turn. We'll play Fat Chocobo. Reveal top 5, and we'll add as many Chocobos as we like. And we also have a cheeky extra 1 cost. Oh, wow. Okay, so we just got the perfect hit here. So I wish I could select and choose to add all of these to hand. I can't, but that's fine. So this is very strong, actually, right out of the gate. We will end with 8 cards in our hand, which is crazy anyway. Very, very potent. But we can see that just from the last 2 playtests, we've already had a really incredibly strong synergy package. This is doing exactly what we want. 8 cards on turn 2 is very good. So, I don't know. So I think... because we have a bunch of these dupes and we need to go down to hand size, I think playing backups is probably fine and reasonable. So instead of playing things on curve, I think it's fine to try and just play a couple of little things and then go from there. So we did get very, very lucky. In that we were able to draw 2 of the same backup. Well, we have all 3. Pardon me. We have all 3 backups, which is obviously very good. Or all 3 of the same backup, meaning we could pitch each one for fodder. So let's just play the Chocobo Knight, get a Chocobo, and then pass with a full grip of 5 in hand. And then I think, to be honest, at that point, I would stop doing what I would call like gold fishing, and instead, there we go. I would stop gold fishing, and I would stop this goldfish and go for another one. I think this Chocobo is the way to go. Just because I think that Chocobo will give us even more cards in hand. But yeah, that's what I would normally do. I normally just run through and see if I can get those pretty consistently. And if I can, I think I'm on a pretty good way. This, at this point, merits playtesting. Go to your play group, present the deck, play with the deck, see if people have suggestions or ideas, see if there are gaps that need to be filled. Like one gap that I could perceive is that if we don't hit Barts, we don't have much removal. So maybe I would consider dropping something that wasn't named Chocobo or wasn't a job Chocobo, and adding in a couple of Dryads to have some sort of counterplay, because we're going to have a lot of dudes on the board anyway. That's not a bad thing to do. Effectively, the point being, build and design the deck at the start, and then work out what its weaknesses will look like as well. So yeah, obviously at the moment, some of these cards are not out, but this would be my first take on a Chocobo deck. So you kind of got a 2-for-1. You've got a Chocobo deck here, and you're seeing my thought process and the way I'm looking at the cards and the way I'm challenging my own assumptions about the deck and the way that it works, or confirming them by doing playtests and things. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, a great rest of your week, and if you liked what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.